What is going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk to you about Lucid. I want to go over their Q2 earnings, give you the good, the bad, and the ugly, everything that you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So starting off with some of the positives. So the positives are they did beat on their revenue. So forecast was 193, came in at 200 mil. So I think that's generally good. Right before their earnings, analysts did raise their estimates from, I think it was 178 to 193. So I think some people were somewhat worried that maybe the bar was being set too high, but Lucid did exceed that. So I think generally that is a very positive thing. Peter did talk quite a lot on technology. And so when it comes to technology, they are striving towards 6 kilowatt hours. So that's definitely a positive. It should be coming in the foreseeable future, I think Peter said, or something like that, as well as a big update. So that will really help with autonomous driving in the future. And it won't necessarily be just for new models. It will also be for old models. So that's some of the notes that I made on that. So yeah, ADAS, and then it looks like they're also going to be doing some pretty big app enhancements, but didn't really allude to all that much. So aside from that though, they also did kind of mention pickup numerous times throughout their earnings, and that was actually done by Peter. And so when it comes down to pickups, we already do know that this was floating around kind of tail end of 2023. No real context aside from them alluding to that earlier on, I guess in 2021, about having a pickup in by 2030. So potentially there is that attribute, but aside from that, just kind of speculation. They did mention about partnerships. There's a caveat to that. It doesn't sound like they're going to be coming anytime soon, but they did say that there's going to be some licensing partnerships and whatever else. So I think there's a lot of good things that was said, but it's all for the future, not like right now. So you can take that as a positive or a negative, whatever floats your boat. But one other thing that really came out that is somewhat as a positive, but it's also going to help me transition into a negative, is this right here. So Lucid Group announces public investment fund commitment of 1.5 billion. So it goes to show that the PIF and its affiliates are there to support Lucid. So some people might really like that, and I see on social media people are absolutely like kind of clapping, saying that's amazing. So that's also a good transition into a negative. I see this, any current investor, current shareholders this is dilution in one way or another. So not necessarily the best for current investors. For Lucid as a company, then yes, this is good that they are supporting it, but for current shareholders, not so much. Plus 750 of this is through that preferred share. And I've already alluded to, I think that is the PIF's kind of poison pill if they ever need it by 2026, I believe it is, or 2027. So something to keep in mind. And then 750 is through a loan facility. So something to, again, keep in mind. As far as I'm aware, this loan facility, that's not going to be convertible. So that's just a straight up cash repayment, whereas the preferred share has kind of a hybrid model. So yeah, I see that as somewhat as a negative. When it came down to some of the questions posed by retail, this question, I was very happy and optimistic that Peter was going to say, you know what, we are actually working on ESS. Peter acknowledged, saying that they are a tech company and this is something logically they should be focusing on, but right now and probably for the foreseeable future, they are not. So yeah, that's kind of discouraging because there was a lot of revenue and this is going to be a big business going forward. This is why you're seeing Tesla, Rivian kind of doing this, entering into that. So I was very disappointed by that. And even this time around, they only asked the 3 questions. They didn't really talk on this. It would have been good to find out about the UK and further expansion. So kind of showed that Peter wasn't really willing. And Peter is very telling. So Peter had, for the most part, everything you could tell, like he was recited it numerous times. He spoke very confidently up until this point. So everything up until this point, He was confident, then he started stuttering. And typically whenever Peter stutters, you could tell he's uncomfortable. And so yeah, this question right here made him very, very uncomfortable, as well as probably some investors that were really betting on this. So once again, that was somewhat of a negative. And like I mentioned about partnerships, Peter did say once they get the battery pack lower, and so that's in preparation for their mid-size SUV, that is where a lot of partnerships will kind of come into play, as well as their path to profitability. So yes, he did say that there's going to be some partnerships. No actual names were dropped, so no Hyundai or whatever, but it's obviously not going to be coming this year. Maybe logically when they have the battery packs ready by mid next year, I assume, if not by 2026. So nothing in the short term. One very big negative, even an analyst did ask about the Gravity. There is no date on the Gravity. So that is one very big negative, if you ask me, the fact that they didn't really provide much context to that. So once again, there's that attribute that really hurt Lucid, in my opinion. One thing that I do want to show you, I'll just pop this up right now. So I made some notes, but this right here, and so Lucid Technology and Manufacturing Day scheduled for September the 10th. So kind of speaking on the Gravity, I'm just bringing this up. This isn't really a positive or a negative because it wasn't really confirmed, but I do feel that the Gravity reservations are going to be launched on this day. So on September the 10th, which is fair, right? So I see that as feasible, because why else would they be having this like a big monumentous day? Because they brought this up numerous times, right? So yeah, logically they didn't say it, but this is clearly going to be associated to the Gravity. But still, the fact that they didn't really give much context about that is just not the best. And then yeah, aside from that though, they as typical, they did kind of lie, but they did say that they have sufficient amount of cash. I'll quickly pull this up. They have sufficient amount of cash up until I think it is tail end into the fourth quarter of 2025. For those of you that have been following me since basically 2021, you know I've been 100% accurate on this. And in fact, I did say in Q3 they were going to dilute, and lo and behold, here it did happen. I wasn't anticipating the Q2 to be so early. I did say that it would be roughly around 3 billion in dilution. If you kind of add it all together, that's kind of where it landed ultimately. But I disagree with this. They have probably, it's going to be a good 3 quarters before they do dilute. So it will be, sorry for my mousemanship, but Q1 2025 is when they will need to dilute. So that essentially is another negative. Some people might like it because of course it gives another opportunity for the PIF to increase their position, but for current investors, it's not necessarily the best. So yeah, I think in general, that was some of the negatives. As well, they did cite, I felt like it was unjustified. Nobody was really bringing it up. Even an analyst kind of asked for further context, but Q3, they did say that there was going to be slowing and more kind of, it's going to be harder on their balance sheet, less deliveries. So they kind of just mentioned a seasonal slowdown, and I think they've done that in the past due to vacations and whatever, but I don't really see that as logical. And other EVs and OEMs, when they've been unveiling their earnings, they haven't mentioned Q3 is going to be slower. It seems to be whatever holidays are out there are only specific to Lucid and seem to be affecting it. So I felt like that was unjustified and kind of a big negative. So once again, not really much optimistic stuff to look forward to for Q3, aside from hopefully Gravity reservations, because by that time their earnings will be probably in, was it October? If I'm around October. So they should have the reservations out at that stage, but we'll just have to wait and see. So I think all in all, that's kind of all the negatives, all the strong positives that kind of stand out to me. Like I said, I think on the technology front, that's one thing that they were really pushing as a very strong positive, as what their kind of business model is all focused around. So there's going to be some pretty big updates coming for that. And supposedly, based on what Peter said, a lot of those updates are going to move and help Lucid towards profitability. So that it's kind of going to come hopefully all full circle. We'll just have to wait and see. Right now the market isn't really liking that, because if you think about it from a metric standpoint, they beat on revenue, missed on earnings per share, and in my opinion they did fail to really give good futures guidance. So I think just nobody really wants to buy Lucid right now. Plus there's a lot of fear in the market, so this is why Lucid is lagging. Going over some data points right now, shorts are increasing 1.19 million shares. 26.46% of the free float is being shorted, works out to be 237.4 million shares overall are being shorted. Utilization 91.91, and then short score, so the higher the number, the higher the likelihood of a squeeze happening, is 89.44. You did have some buying first thing, so 3 transactions, one for 1.43 million, 228,000, and then 961,000. So pretty good stuff. So that's what kind of kept it afloat for the most part first thing. And then clearly shorts took over, and algorithmic trading most likely are kind of bringing it down. So once again, let me know your thoughts on Lucid. Is there anything that I did miss from their Q2 earnings that you see as a overwhelming positive or as a negative? Was there anything that I kind of missed? Again, there was a lot of things said. You could tell that based on just the transcripts. There was a lot of things said, in fact. But still, and actually, I guess one thing as well, speaking of the Gravity, I know I already mentioned that they didn't really give much context for the Gravity, but they didn't even say like their targets. So I feel it's like us as investors, we're going into kind of the Gravity knowing it is a revolutionary vehicle. It is going to be kick-ass, really helping towards, I guess, eventually laying the foundation for that mid-size SUV, but we don't really know much as far as when, like the quantity, things like the key data that we are kind of missing out on. So let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. One final thing, take advantage of this promo. It has been extended up until the end of August. Simply sign up for a new account, throw $100 at it, and they give you 5 free stocks. Each stock is valued up to $2,000. Link in the description below and also the comments. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.